One of the things I like to do with this podcast, and I always tell potential guests that I love it to be a conversation, kind of like, you know how you go to a coffee shop and you're there by yourself and you hear this really interesting conversation going on behind you.
Yeah.
And you kind of lean back in your chair because you just want to kind of participate. That's exactly what ideally this podcast is about. And because I'm always seeking interesting people who have cool stuff to share and say, I don't care where the conversation goes. And frankly, yeah, we're going to talk about Bonjoro. We're going to talk about you knowing Matt Barnett from A Boy Up.
Yeah.
But we're also going to talk, ideally, if you're okay with it, about Oliver Bridge or Oli. You go by Oli, right?
Yeah, Oli. Yeah, it's shorter, easier to write down. So
yeah, well, exactly. I use DP instead of David Paul because of that very thing.
Yeah.
And my last name, Knudten, is a pain to pronounce for most people. So DP is pretty easy.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about you and what you've been doing, and hopefully we'll get into that in next week's episode. So I want to cover a lot of bases. But first, what I'd really love to do is have you introduce yourself and give, 30 seconds on who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah, sure. So Oli Bridge, and I'm the CMO of Bonjoro, but I guess sort of take CMO with a pinch of salt. We're still a fairly sort of small to medium-sized business. Bonjoro itself has been going since early 2017, growing really well, doing really well. I'm sort of heading up our marketing, just trying to figure out ways of sort of making Bonjoro and what we're doing here connect with people and add value to their lives. And, when I'm saying people, I'm thinking of online businesses. And I guess the sort of times we find ourselves in now, like what Bonjoro does is really, really starting to connect with people, which has been great. And just to quickly sort of say what Bonjoro is, I should just very quickly introduce it. Basically, like Bonjoro hooks up to your CRM or any tools that you use to help you send personalized videos to your customers or to your leads at the perfect moment to connect with them and engage with them. And through doing that in a human way at the right time, you can build relationships that last, that bring great customers. So yeah, that's what we do. And it's really been hitting home with the market, which has been really cool.
Everything you just said makes sense, and yet it doesn't make sense until you experience it, because longtime listeners of the Nonfiction Brand podcast will remember a couple of episodes with Matt Barnett, the founder and CEO of Bonjoro. And we had a great conversation. He explained Bonjoro, and you can go back and listen to that in detail if you'd like. But I think a lot of people don't understand exactly what it does, or what they really don't understand is the power of what it does, not in terms of technology, but in terms of personal relationship. And let me give you an example of that. One of the very first examples I heard of Bonjoro being used in the field was Pat Flynn. Now, I'm a follower of Pat Flynn's everything because he's just an amazing guy, and longtime podcast listeners will undoubtedly have run across Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income podcast, which is fantastic. And I recommend that to everybody all the time. And I never really understood the power of what Bonjoro could do until I think I heard Pat Flynn explain it, saying that every time that someone signs on to one of his courses, whether it's a live thing or a canned webinar that he's already done, any type of course structure, whatever, they're going to get an actual video in their email from Pat Flynn saying, hey, person's name who just signed up, and he's doing it live on camera. Thank you so much for joining my course. I hope you get a lot out of it. If there's anything I can do for you, or please contact our service team or whatever it is. And, I don't ever expect to meet Pat Flynn in person, even if I take his course, right? And yet Pat Flynn reaches out into my inbox and calls me by my name. And the effect is kind of like, wow, I'm blown away. I just paid, I don't know, I'm just going to pick a number and say, I just paid $150 to do his course. And I get a message from the guy who created that course. How cool is that?
Yeah. I think the key with what we're doing, and the key with video, well, personal video in general, is you've got to connect it with let's call it a use case or a way of using it. Like, where are you going to use this thing, and who's using it is key as well. Like you talked about Pat. So whoever's going to join Pat's list or download something from him or buy his, I think the first time he used this was when he launched a course called Power Up Podcasting, and he just wanted to thank people for buying the course. It's I think it was like a $300 course. He wanted to thank with them, connect with them. And in doing that, deepen that relationship, make it a bit more sticky. That means in turn that for Pat, those people are probably going to, when he releases his next course or his next webinar, whatever it might be, they're going to think, okay, Pat did something a bit above and beyond. I'm going to stick with Pat. I'm going to buy more stuff from Pat. So that was his use case. But we've, like the last 3 months, we've gone really deep on interviewing our customers in terms of how are you actually using this thing. And we've got customers from like online course creators, e-commerce. A guy we interviewed recently about 6 weeks ago, Joe, he runs a coffee shop over in the States called Ojo's Coffee. And he did something incredible and his results were unbelievable. So he started sending, runs this coffee shop. He has an e-commerce side of the coffee store as well. People can order one-time purchases or subscriptions. So what he started doing was sending personal videos to anybody that bought a one-time purchase, and just a really nice, like casual video saying, thanks so much for supporting me. I'm an independent store. We're roasting your coffee now. We're going to package it up, send it out to you. And by the way, we also do subscriptions. You can click on the button next to my video to have a look at the subscriptions. And Joe, he said for about 3 years, he'd been about, I think it was $35,000 a month recurring revenue on his subscriptions. In 14 weeks of sending personal videos to one-time purchasers, he was upselling 50% of his one-time purchases. That went from 35,000 to 75,000 recurring revenue in 14 weeks. So it's like, this thing, like, where are you using it? Who's sending it? And if you're sending it to the customers at the right time in the right context, it can be incredibly powerful. So I think that's like the key within. My job here is to really educate the market on, like, this is when to do it and this is when not to do it, and like how you can get those results.
This episode of the Nonfiction Brand Podcast is brought to you by Culture Chicken Brand Egg. What's that? It's one of my most requested presentations, now available as in-person live or virtual online presentations. If you've got a group or association that loves presentations that inspire, inform, entertain, and get you going at the same time, we should talk. Head on over to dpknudten.com/speaking to download my full speaker media kit today. And let's start talking about how I can help you get your party started. As a podcaster, one of the reasons, and by the way, I'm pulling the curtain back, revealing my strategy here. One of the reasons I do a podcast is to get my voice in people's ears, to get it in people's heads, to create a level of intimate relationship that heretofore I could only do person to person. And now with COVID and lockdowns and quarantines and stuff, you can't do it all. So podcasting for me has been a really great thing. And I was doing it long before COVID. So it's not like COVID was the inciting incident that made me do it, but it was an attempt to increase or multiply the force that I could have, because face-to-face is a one-to-one thing. And Bonjoro is a one-to-one thing that you can do over and over and over again to as many different people as you want. And it may seem a little bit weird that you're talking to a camera or a camera on your phone or whatever, but to the person on the receiving end, it is an eye-to-eye, person-to-person relationship conversation of pretty big impact, as you just discussed about that coffee roaster. And it works. It's amazing. Just think about it. If you let's say that you bought a new book from somebody that you admire. Let's say it's John Grisham. And all of a sudden you got in your email a thing that said, there's John Grisham saying your name, thanking you for buying the book. What would that make you do? What would that make you feel? I mean, just put yourself in those shoes for a second, and you can see that this is incredibly powerful. And the point I want to make is that while me doing a podcast is an attempt to do that, it requires a fair amount of work. I mean, the editing, the organizing, the scheduling of guests, all that stuff. With Bonjoro, you're kind of doing a mini video version of a podcast or a web series or a YouTube video, and you're doing it in 25 seconds, thanking someone and asking if there's any other thing you could do for them, or maybe telling them about something else that they may be interested in that you happen to be selling or serving.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think from my point of view, like I work for a video, I guess like you call us like a video marketing company, but I'm not that comfortable doing the sort of big budget.
Yeah, well, you're one of many.
Yeah, a load of editing, like investing a lot of time doing the sort of video and broadcasting it. I sort of don't like. I think a lot of people have this fear of video because they're like, I don't really want to put my they don't know the difference almost between their public and their private persona. And I still don't know to this day. I'm not quite sure what it is, but when I record a personal video and share it with one person, it doesn't matter because all I'm showing them is the me persona. And I'm not having to, I don't know, like play up to our brand. So I think there's this interesting shift where like video hosting the last 20 years has been the domain of a marketer. And it's like, okay, this is marketing's thing. You can't do it because if you mess it up, like we won't be happy or whatever it might be. Whereas like this pivot to personal videos, like, don't worry, just do it. Only that person is going to see it. Doesn't matter what you say. And like the interesting thing as well, when you start doing this thing and you get responses from people and start creating those relationships, I think that's the thing. So I think it is like, this is personal videos putting it in the hands of sales, customer success, marketing, founders, owners, and it makes it easy and not scary. Because honestly, like I'll be open with you guys, I am scared of that sort of big budget video stuff. It's not my background. It's not what I'm good at. I'm okay at connecting with people. I think I'm quite good at connecting with people. That's what I want to use video for.
What you said a little bit earlier sparked a response in me, because you said, I'm not sure I'm living up to my brand or something like that, or that there was a difference between your professional brand and your personal persona. Well, the Nonfiction Brand podcast and the whole nonfiction brand philosophy that I espouse says there is no difference. There is only you. There is only the true nonfiction brand that is you. Now, the thing is, you need to package that a little bit. You need to focus that a little bit, but there is no difference between your authentic self and what I would call your personal brand, your nonfiction personal brand. And that's why Bonjoro as a tool is so fantastic for everything you just talked about, which is you don't need a lighting kit. You don't need an edit suite. You don't need to master the key commands of Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere or anything like that. You just literally sit in a chair, look at your phone cam and say, hey, Joe, I wanted to thank you for buying my services. I am so excited to work with you and your team. If you have any questions, just give me a call. By the way, you can see in the signature below in this email, that's all my contact information. I hope you'll reach out whenever you need anything. And again, thank you so very much for purchasing my services or recommending me or whatever it is. Yeah. That's all you have to do. And the power of that communication, if that were written as text in an email, most people wouldn't read to the end. But if you're looking at them with your eyes and creating a video specifically for them where you mention their name, they are, I guess it's the rules of human behavior dictates, well, I got to hear them out.
Totally.
And by the end of it, the rules of human psychology dictate that, wow, I feel closer to this person.
Yeah, I think it's, I was running a webinar yesterday. One of the key parts of that, the opening of the webinar, a lot of it was about the psychology of video and the psychology of personal video. And I think what you say is absolutely correct in that sending a video versus sending a plain text email, you've got that opportunity, I guess, it's like the gateway to someone's conscious brain. And we all have this thing. I'm not nowhere scientist. I'm an English lit sort of grad background, but all of us physiologically have this thing at the base of our brain and at the top of our spinal column called the reticular activating system. And you may have read about it before if you've read marketing books related to behavioral psychology. But that essentially acts as the gateway to our conscious brain. It's interesting, at the start of this podcast episode, he said, I like this podcast to be like someone's just overheard us in a coffee shop and it's an interesting conversation. The reason that actually happens is because of this reticular activating thing in the base of your brain. It's like if you overhear something that's interesting to you, immediately this sort of access to your conscious brain fires up, because we can't take everything in all of the time. So we have to be selective. Our consciousness has to be selective. So if you heard someone talking about like a Netflix show that you just watched and you're at a party, you'd tune into it straight away, that conversation. So yeah, interesting what you say. And this is what video does. The face, the human face, saying someone's name personally, all of these other elements that go with recording a video, they really get you access to that person's subconscious brain and get like true engagement. It's very different to an email. And I know the medium of delivery might be the same. You might be sending this video on a sort of email platform, but it's just really interesting. What happens on the other side is like the sort of secret part of this. That's the interesting part of what happens, I think.
Yeah, and I think that it's really this powerful pile of psychological levers that you're engaging when you do video like that. I mean, I'm going to take your psychological effects and raise you one. There's one called the cocktail party effect, right? You're at a busy cocktail party. You hear a bunch of different conversations going on. You can't really hear what the conversations are about until someone says your name and your brain just locks into that like a laser. And that's exactly what happens when someone says, hey, Oli, on a Bonjoro video. Hey, Oli, thank you so much. By mentioning your name, I focus your attention on the message a whole lot more effectively than a written email. And the other thing I want to say too is that the power of eye contact. Now, again, you're looking into a camera, you see just this single HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Open pod doors. I can't do that, Dave. Well, the person on the other side of that video sees your two eyes. And again, this is evolutionary biology. Eyes, and especially eye-to-eye contact, is so important in any animal communication, especially the human animal. By making that eye-to-eye contact, you are literally creating a bridge between people in a incredibly powerful way. Like right now, my camera, and you guys can't see this because this is a podcast, but I've got a better quality camera just above the top edge of my laptop. So I'm actually having to look up into the camera to make eye contact with Oli. When I do that, I can't see him because he's actually about 6 inches down on my computer screen, but I do it on purpose because I want to create a connection with Oli so that when I'm done talking, I can then look down at him and see him make eye contact with me. So it's kind of this asynchronous eye contact thing going on. But the effect is by the end of this episode record, I'm going to have a new friend in the UK named Oli, and he's going to have a new friend in Wisconsin, USA.
Yeah. But, we're doing this live, and it's interesting you say this because I think it just does work asynchronously as well when you send a video to someone. And it's funny, beyond all of the results you can get with this sort of stuff, I think the relationships thing is just the key part. So I've sent, like when we launched Bonjoro back in like 2016 at the end, we ran a beta with private customers. And I was just sending these videos to a bunch of people. We're trying to still figure out what Bonjoro was for, really. How is this thing going to make an impact? What were you meant to use it for? And still, the people that replied to the videos I sent back then are the people that I still have relationships with. It's funny, just through watching a video and seeing my face, and like you say, this eye contact thing, I'm still able to get through to them. I can get that cut through. I could go back and I could send them an email. It might not have to be a video email now, but I could send them an email and they would reply to me instantly because I've got that relationship. Something happens there that you almost can't articulate, but it sticks. And I think it's really powerful because anybody building a brand or trying to, build something that's going to last and grow, you can't just keep trying to attract more customers, get more in the door. It just gets more and more expensive, more and more tricky. So the beauty of us at Bonjoro, we use our own product as well. We send videos to every single new sign up that comes through the door. And in doing that, we've got a sort of great list of people that have relationships with us, and we can keep growing the company because of that. So yeah, it's really interesting. I think the relationships thing is key, but how it relates to results is cool as well.
Like with any new tool, it requires a new workflow, or to incorporate it into your regular workflows, it requires a little bit of practice, a little bit of mastery, not a whole lot. I mean, there's not a lot of friction involved here, but there is, I guess what I'm trying to get at is I first got exposed to Bonjoro when Matt was on the podcast. I used it a couple of times, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't kept up with that. And I want to tap your brain in next week's episode on some of the ways that I can flex my muscles to get it into my system. But most of all, I want to get people to understand that they can try Bonjoro and see how it works without shelling out any cash whatsoever. You've got a free level, right?
Yes, we have a free trial, free 14-day trial where you can go straight onto our pro plan, so you can sort of do everything that you need to do with the product. You can integrate it with your existing tools. We'll always offer to jump on a one-to-one call with you as well to sort of figure out where you should be using video in your own funnels, because I think that's the key thing. Like when you talk about locking it in and keeping it as a habit, it's like if you settle on the sort of 2 or 3 places in your funnel where it really works and you start seeing those results, that's the key thing. As soon as it starts working, you just keep on doing it because it's having the impact on your business, bringing you more conversions, landing you upsells, whatever it might be. So yeah, we do a free 14-day trial, and yeah, anybody can use that. You can send as many videos as you want within that trial. And, like you said, it's really frictionless. Like once you've hooked it up to your funnel or a point in your funnel that you're keen to use it with, all that happens is you just get notified when a customer event takes place. So let's say someone signs up to your lead magnet or someone is added to your list. You get notified in Bonjoro, either on your desktop or on your mobile app, and you can just quickly record a video. I think the beauty of us, we built our mobile app as soon as we launched. So we've had a mobile app for 4 years because we've thought it was, getting back to the psychology of video, we think it's really important that people record video in a way that they're comfortable with. And particularly before COVID, when lots of people were still in offices, we knew that a lot of people would be a little bit, they don't like being overheard, or they're a bit anxious about people in the office, seeing them recording videos. And we're like, okay, what if everybody can just pick up their phone, get notified when they need to record a video, and they can do it on their lunchtime walk? Like Matt, our founder, he sends his Bonjoro videos he lives in Sydney, sends his Bonjoro videos on a ferry on the way to work in Sydney, which is just really nice. I think gives people that extra context into sort of who you are, where you're at. So I think that's a key part of it as well, the frictionless nature of actually recording your videos in a way that just suits you.
Well, and the authenticity. I mean, let's face it, if you're in an office with a brick wall behind you and you're going, "Hi, thank you for buying our services," it could come off very much like an automaton or some type of robot. But if you're literally like Matt on a ferry going to work, you can say, "Hey, this is Matt. I'm on the ferry. I'm on my way to work, but I just wanted to take a second to say thank you so much for doing XYZ." It comes off tremendously immediate and tremendously human. And as we all know, I think we're all starved for real human interaction and connection. And I think Bonjoro is a great way to do it. How can people get that free trial of Bonjoro?
So just head to bonjoro.com. Go to sign up and you'll be able to get a free trial, free 14-day trial, as I mentioned. The other thing I'd say is if you're looking for we'll probably talk about this in the next episode more, but if you want some of those tactical elements, I've written up with my colleagues a whole bunch of the templates in terms of points in your funnel, what you can say in your videos, what sort of videos you should record. So go to bonjoro.com/video funnel playbook. And that's just a playbook of all the different ways you can use personal video in your business. I think that's key. To have the understanding of sort of how you can use it is really important as well. So have a look at that, jump into a trial, jump on a call with us and give it a shot, and I'm sure it'll work.
Well, there you go, Nonfiction Branders. You got a little homework. And so go over to bonjoro.com. That's bonjoro.com. Sign up for a free trial. And what I'd love for you to do is send me personally a Bonjoro video saying, "Hey, DP, I did what you told me to. This is kind of cool. And I'm going to check it out for the next 7 days before next week's episode." So again, you can reach me at DP, as in David Paul, at dpknudten.com, KNUDTEN.com. So send me those Bonjoro videos. I would love to see them, and I will respond to them as well. Oli, this has been a great conversation. I look forward to next week's as well. If people wanted to contact you on social media, what is the channel that you're most active on?
I think my personal brand really lives probably on Twitter mostly. So if you go to, I didn't manage to snag the best username, but if you go to @Oliver Bridge 3, so OLIVER Bridge BRIDGE 3 on Twitter, @Oliver Bridge 3. Connect with me on there. That's really where I share a lot of what I'm up to. I'll share little hints and tips around sort of what I've figured out as well with video and other parts of marketing. So if you want to connect with me, go there, and that'd be really cool.
Well, that's great. And again, everybody, what we do is about human connection. And anything that can increase human connection is going to help build your personal brand and build your personal brand success brilliantly. And Bonjoro is certainly one of the tools you should be checking out. I look forward in advance to getting those videos. I'm DP Knudten for the Nonfiction Brand Podcast, and he is
Oli Bridge, Bonjoro CMO.
And we'll be talking to you next week. Bye-bye.